I'd like to officially call to order this meeting of the Park and Downtown Improvement Corporation, and I'd like to call on J.C. Jackson to lead our invocation. If you'll please stand.
Let me bow here. Father, we come today to say thank you. Father, we thank you for life. We thank you for health, and we thank you for our strength. Father, we thank you for your blessing upon each and every one of us that are here today. Father, we ask you to bless our decision making for this city and bless this board as we go forward. All this we ask in the name of the Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. If you'll join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. I don't see any additional visitors. Do we have any remarks this morning?
There's somebody trying to get in.
Oh, Cordell's trying to get in. I guess we'll let him in.
Come around.
At this time, I'd like to ask our board to review the minutes from the January 12th meeting. Once you've had a moment to do so, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Kegris. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. This time we will discuss, we will discuss the financial report. I'll call on Raylan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What you have is your financial report that will include any payments that were made this past month. You will note that we have made one reimbursement payment on the Anderson building for some of the asbestos abatement. The one thing that I did not account for but wanted to make sure that I made you aware is based on the last Paddock Board meeting, the development partnership line item, I will show a budget over there of the $227,700 for the Hummingbird place. So we haven't made any payments out of there, but you'll see that. That's a green section on that page in the future, so I apologize for that.
Hearing none, the financial report will stand approved as presented. This time we'll call on Raylan for a downtown update.
So this will be kind of short and sweet, but I wanted to give y'all just a few updates. We've got some big projects going on. I know everyone is very anxious about the landscape project. We did uncover about 18 feet of concrete under those medians. So that was real fun. And so that, caused a couple of days delay on getting the medians, but it is a lot of fun seeing all of that come into play. I met with Kimley Horn yesterday. We're getting ready to go out for bid on the parking lots here at the corner of Moore in Virginia. And so we are including the irrigation plans and the landscape plans. So hopefully when all that gets wrapped up, they are still on board and believe that they will have everything planted by the end of this month. So now is when we should start to see some of the pretty things, now that the other messy stuff is kind of getting out of the way. As I mentioned, we've got the parking lots. Those bid documents will be released this month. So we hope to award a contract by the end of March, 1st of April. The PRC, which is our project review committee, that was the committee that was put together to review the Complete Streets projects with TxDOT and also our COG, as well as Kaufman County. As you are very well aware, Kaufman County put some funding in their 2019 transportation bond to help cover some of the engineering expenses and some of the consulting expenses for our Complete Streets, which was Highway 80 and also looking at Spur 226, which is Virginia. I'll be bringing to you next month a MOU. And what that will be is a memorandum of understanding between all of the entities that we have come to a conclusion about Highway 80. We will definitely be in a position where we can make recommendations without losing parking spaces, making sure that we get the wider sidewalks, but just realizing that that's not something that the city or the county is looking to finance at this point, because we understand that eventually it would be on the TxDOT's radar. So this MOU will just basically kind of recap all of the PRC meetings. It'll recap the meetings that we've had with TxDOT and some of those adjustments that we made, as well as a town hall meeting. So once the MOU is presented to you and we're able to go into detail some of the, and please expect this next month, we'll go into some of the details of the meetings and the changes that took place before and after those meetings. And once the MOU is signed by all the entities, then my goal is to come back with a follow-up town hall meeting to give everyone an update on the complete streets, because they were very concerned about Highway 80 and the parking spaces. At that point, we'll also have an update on the quiet zones, and so we'll kind of do a repeat of last April's town hall and just kind of let the community know where we are with those projects. So I'm looking forward to bringing that back to you. Whenever we talk about this next month, Kimley Horn will be presenting some ideas for Spur 226. We still do have some funding credits that we had looked at using for Highway 80, and so there'll be some projects that we'll have y'all kind of look at to see where you possibly would support other roadway construction that we could use those credits for. So that will be forthcoming. Business recruitment is exciting. The EDC, City of Terrell, and the Chamber went to ICSC Red River. So we had an opportunity to make sure that our downtown properties that had available spaces were also advertised there at that booth. So I will be working with Craig and Tammy Bentley on getting some advertisement sheets completed for the Bass Rutledge building. They've got quite a few in there. Rumor has it that the Buford Drug building has been leased. I do not know the business yet, but they are evidently trying to finalize that. And I am probably most excited about the Shell station, gas station at the corner. And I know it doesn't sound very exciting, but Mohammed came to the city 3 weeks ago with a plan. He's doing a brick facade to match our existing downtown. So all of that renovation that you see going on at that corner, he's doing a complete renovation of the exterior of the Shell station. And he was very helpful, and he's very excited to get that done. He was not asking for anything other than a building permit. So definitely go and visit with him and thank him for his contributions to downtown. He had originally proposed some stone, and Blake Mays was able to talk to him about, you know, some of the brick and how could we work with your facade, and he was very quick to change that and make some changes to match our historic downtown. So I'm very excited about that one.
The Bass Rutledge building, there's space for lease or it's for sale?
Lease. Yeah, he's got some office space. He still has the 207 South Francis space. That was the old jewelry store. He still has that one. And then he also has some single offices in the second floor. So I'm kind of working with him and getting just some dialogue started. We get several phone calls every week. And so I told him I definitely wanted to make sure that I had a brochure for his property.
The first floor old jewelry store, has it been renovated
Semi.
for office or?
Well, originally it was the boutique auto parts store. So it was renovated for the boutique auto parts store. And then they could not operate there. So it has had a little bit of work done, but it'll have to be renovated for someone else to move in.
I have a question about it also, Raylan. I know those stairs are very steep, and it's not handicap accessible. do they have plans to do something about that?
He is not looking to renovate that building at all.
Okay.
So I stay in constant contact with him. That is one of my most, I tell him all that is one of my most favorite buildings downtown. He definitely has an iconic piece. But no, there are no plans for major renovations. So,
So are there certain types of offices that wouldn't require ADA accessibility?
yeah, basically, because it would be small tenant, I think it's less than like 200 square feet. So it's literally like accountants or CPAs that just have single office space. So as long as you're not serving the public, you can, on your own regard, lease a building.
Am I correct? We don't have ordinances that say you can't do office on first floor, but we just have incentives designed around
Right,
retail.
on first, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions on this slide?
And a few events. On February the 15th, the Texas Downtown Association will be in town. We will have members from Texas Downtown and also a couple of area Main Street and downtown directors will come in and help do an assessment for the city and the chamber. The initial morning will be a meet and greet between some of the chamber, the city. We would like to have a paddock representative there, so I would like, if y'all had anyone or two people, I think we can have two, that would be fine. There at the meeting, I think it would be great for y'all to hear firsthand kind of some of the questions and some of the information that they're going to be trying to get back from the tenants and property owners. I have scheduled a separate just property owner meeting with Texas Downtown that will take place from 9:30 to 10:30. So that, because during the day, Texas Downtown will go out and they'll get to visit with a lot of the merchants. But I wanted an opportunity for the building owners to sit and talk through some of this so that when we get recommendations from Texas Downtown, they can help communicate some of the constraints or the concerns that the owners have. That email went out last week, and I already have 7 property owners that are wanting to participate. So I'm excited that they're actively wanting to be a part of this. And then, of course, our merchants will get to visit with them firsthand about some of the retail and things like that. So if y'all could kind of talk amongst yourselves and decide who would represent Paddock, that would be great, and I can get a calendar invite. I didn't want to send it out to the masses and have too many RSVP, but we definitely would encourage members of Paddock to participate that morning, just to hear some of the reporting.
No time like the present. Do we have any volunteers that would be interested in attending on the 15th?
The first meeting will be from 8:30 to 9:30. Mm-hmm. That's it. No, it'll just be a 1-hour meet and greet, and then they'll meet with property owners, and they will tour the city by themselves. Mm-hmm.
I would like to. Is there anyone else that would like to join?
I need to check my schedule, but I should be able to.
You have an interest as well?
Yeah, if Matt can't do it, I don't have anything
Okay.
on my court calendar that day, so you'll just let me know.
We'll make sure you've got at least 2.
Yeah, okay. Matt, if you'll just let me know, that'll be great. April 8th is a huge eclipse event downtown. Y'all, it's really, really scary. So we decided, while you have mass quantities of people in chaos, why not have a downtown event, right? So the night before, the Chamber and the downtown merchants are going to host a downtown event. We're going to bring in a couple of food trucks. And the most exciting thing is when I went to Great Fest, they have the dueling pianos that play, and it's like Pete's Piano Bar. And the dueling pianos are going to be downtown on that night. And I'm super excited about that. Well, hopefully it'll go over really well. But I will let y'all know that we have received some comments from our storefronts and our merchants that are very concerned about the number of people that will be visiting their stores, and some of them have chosen to not participate because there will be too many people. So that's where we kind of, so we're gonna have events, we're gonna have dueling pianos, we're gonna have food, and hopefully we'll have a couple of merchants. But I really think we're gonna have some paint by number. We'll have a mural that's up at that time. We also will have someone who's doing an art class. So that there'll be plenty of events, and we're kind of promoting Rio Lerma. And just, we're making sure that all of the hotel guests know about that event on Sunday to kind of bring them towards this direction. So, we're excited. I think it'll be, if the weather's good, I think it'll be a great outdoor event. And then, of course, April 8th, the actual eclipse. I would just recommend you all stay home and let people come in and out. We're planning on lots and lots of people, and who knows? We could have 2, we could have 20,000. We don't know. But we are planning for that. And then shortly after that, we'll have the Taco Fest downtown. One thing that I wanted to bring to y'all early, because we will, believe it or not, be going into budget in just a few short months, with the idea of the British coming to Terrell with the last meeting that was held by Bill Huffmaker. He is continuing to schedule those roundtables with different property owners and different merchants. So he is going to continue to conduct these meetings with other people. I wanted to approach Paddock and see how y'all felt about sponsoring a branding contract. One thing to consider is that we are hopefully very close to unveiling some ideas about the town square. We're finishing up the drainage study, and some of the drainage recommendations are going to kind of play into what would eventually be the park area. So we're kind of building it to where there's bioswales and not just piping. And so we're trying to see if we can't consume some of that water within the park area that we have. So with that being said, for lack of a better word, I worry that we will have somewhat of an identity crisis between one group trying to push something. We'll have activity in, the green space over there, and then our poor downtown. And so I did have one firm that reached out to me, RSM Designs. They work with 720 Designs, who is our consultant for the library, which is the first big proposed facility out at Town Square. He had some great examples, and I just put those here in that slide. It's just something I would like for y'all to start thinking about, because I will probably bring some ideas to y'all during budget, because I think before we really jump out there with a brand new theme, or, we need to look at the overall. We've got, and Glenn will tell you, we've got several parks that are going to be open this next year. I mean, we have a lot of development right now. And so I think now is the time to get some consistency with wayfinding, to get some consistency with our entrances to our parks, just things like that. And so this kind of plays into, this is where downtown and the parks could come together and start to look familiar throughout town. So this is just food for thought, because if it's something that y'all tell me we're absolutely not interested, then I won't worry about bringing it to you at budget. But there's a lot that goes into. We've got Mills is working with a new naming committee. I mean, there's so much going on right now that I think we need to take the time, and when we do it right, let's do it right the first time, instead of having to rename and rebrand after the fact. So that's all I have for you.
Any comments on the branding concept?
I think it's a wonderful idea to bring, somebody from outside in. Because, you know, I look at the, I think it's on 34 where there's a sign, and, you know, at one point we were focused on the railroad, and they've got a railroad, whatever those nail things are.
Yeah.
They kind of represent the railroad, and we've got the British, and we're too emotionally attached to it.
Yes.
And I think we need an outside source to talk to everybody and maybe come up with something that brings it all together. I don't
Yeah.
have any idea what kind of cost that is.
What I'm looking at would be around the 150 mark to get you all the way through to a logo and graphics that you could eventually turn into signage. So it would get you community meetings. Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
The chamber kind of came up with a new logo and that kind of thing, and I think there's an opportunity to maybe finally get us all on the same.
Yeah. So I went out with Glenn and Mr. Mills and Demeter the other day and just looking at the new parks, and we were just talking about, I mean, there's just so much new that we, you know, we're still Terrell America and, you know, the city logo and all of that, but I want to make sure that we get the coloring and we get the signage and we get, you know, the names right moving forward. So I'll work on that and bring it back to you during budget.
All right, this time we'll receive a park update from Glenn, Demeter, whoever.
Good morning. I stand before you to present to you our paddock improvements. And before I get started, I do want to say thank you all for your support. We could not have made it this far without your support, without support of City Council and city staff. So again, thank you. So we'll start with our modular restrooms. And our first modular restroom was kind of our test to see if this is something we want to continue with in our parks. And after we got it installed, we came back to the paddock board. The paddock board supported the idea to move forward with adding additional modular restrooms to the parks. So this is just a look back of the first modular restroom that we installed, which is near the swimming pool, and it serves the tennis courts. There's also a walking trail, a sidewalk connectivity that leads or connects to the walking trail at Ben Gill Park. The next one is our second restroom that we installed over at Breezy. And we all know how desperately we were in need of a restroom that was functional, that was not scary to go into at Breezy Hill. So we have the modular restroom here. You have the interior that's on the outside of the exterior building. So we have the men's that's on the left and the women's on the right with all stainless steel lavatories. Also, baby changing station in each of them. We also have water fountains on the front with a bottle filler. And this is consistently done on each modular restroom. All right, you can go to the next slide. Slide number 3 is very identical to the Breezy Hill slide. This one is located at Ben Gill Park. This is close to the pavilion. And I will tell you, at the time of this being installed, when citizens were out walking on the trail and they saw buildings flying in the air, landing, they were clapping and they were excited to have something nicer to go to when they're out there walking. Also, the parents love it too because it's closer to the playground and they can get their children there a little bit quicker. All right, our fourth modular restroom, we did a demo of our old softball building. It was just outdated. It had served its purpose. And so we have here a modular restroom. This one is much larger. This is our largest modular restroom out of the 4. And we wanted to show you the beauty of the entry road, this entry road that leads into the softball complex. It will not be utilized by, just patrons or citizens. It's mainly used it's mainly installed for city staff, so they can get in there and they can do maintenance along with accessing the storage facility. This restroom, you can go to the next slide. This restroom, or this building has men's and women. It has additional stalls, and we have a storage room that is much larger than our previous one, where they can store items in there so they're not transporting them from one facility to the next. We also have a concession stand, and it also has an industrial sink that you do not see in this picture. That's 3-compartment, which is within code. Go to the next slide. We also decided to do the sidewalk connectivity that we brought before you once before that leads to each ball field. There are 4 ball fields at this location, and as you can see, there they are. It makes it easy to get from the concession to the ball field without walking in grass. It just looks much cleaner, much neater out at our parks. All right, next slide. Thank you. We have addressed that issue there. This is a picture, yes, they are, again, as Glenn said, they are recessed. That has been fixed. We did notice that right after, matter of fact, was when we took the picture, and we were like, hey, we got to get this addressed. So our Parks Department went out, they addressed that, so we do not have a tripping hazard. Yes, ma'am.
Those plugs, you just turn them over. They were installed in the opposite direction. That was easy correction.
Yes. All right, next slide. All right, to the fun stuff, to the restroom remodels, remodeling our existing restrooms within Bengill Park. Here you have the pavilion. You see the before and after of the exterior. We purposely kept the same color selection with the split face. The goal was to kind of match the Excel Center because it stands out when you're in the park. So you see here the split face, which is the same color that is used for our modular restrooms. There were several other components that had to be addressed here at the pavilion, but this is the finished look, and the pavilion is 100% complete. This is just the side view of the entrance of the women's. The women's and the men's restroom are very identical, so there's nothing more or less in either one of them. They're very identical. If you see the flooring, we did the flooring. It was just concrete. We did the epoxy on the floor, had a seal put over it, again with stainless steel. Lavatories, I will say, we did come to you and we said we wanted to do stainless steel for all of our lavatories. However, the porcelain toilets, we had to return to that due to the size of the line that we have. And stainless steel, the standard is a 1 inch, and we have 3/4 inch lines in our facilities. So if we would have upgraded to a 1 inch, then y'all would have saw us coming back before you asking for more money, because we would have to go through the concrete wall and the flooring to install those lines. So to prevent from increasing the expense, we decided, let's go back with the porcelain and we will manage it from there. All right, next slide. You have the football, the exterior, the before and after. We still have a few little things that we're working on here, just minor. We're putting back on the powder-coated burglar bars on the front of the concession stand here. If you can go to the next slide. And you see before and after. The lighting has been upgraded. We have LED lighting, it's much brighter. We removed the cabinets. We're going to go back in with the stainless steel tables so that they have, space to prep their food on there. All right, next slide. This is the interior of the restrooms, much brighter. I don't know if you've ever visited the football or the soccer facility prior to the remodel, but it was pretty dark to go in there. So we have much better lighting, LED. You can see we have the partition doors installed, again with the stainless steel lavatories, except for the toilets. Next slide, this is our soccer. Before and after, same thing, very identical facility of the football, so I will not bore you saying the same thing there. All right, next slide. Same with the concession. You see there the difference. And the next slide. The interior of the soccer. We can go ahead and go to the next slide.
Before, Ms. Board Member, I'm going to dive in and talk about the painful part of the project, right? I'll bring the bad news. Before we talk about the financials, we made an executive decision on yesterday in transparency to sever ties with our remodeling contractor, okay? We're still planning to meet the goal of completing the project by the end of February, but it was a necessary thing that we needed to do so that we can get the final remodel portion of the project completed, okay? Thank you.
Okay, so here, this slide is our summary, just to show you where we are, how much have been spent. The description you'll see in the first column, second column is amount paid to date, and then our remaining budget. Originally, we were approved for the 1.5 million spent to improve our restrooms, and we come back to the Paddock Board, and we received support, council approved for us to spend the 400 contingency, giving us a total of 1.9 million. So you'll see in the second section here of this, we have our completed projects. These are all the ones that are completed, and I will say, yes, there is a typo on Ben that is already corrected. Just want to let you know that. But you'll see our amount paid to date, and then we have our running balance of every time we completed a project, you'll see what was remaining in our budget. The third portion of that is what's in progress, and Raylan, I do want to apologize because we did get some more information and was able to get it to you, to get it in the packet this time. Again, the pavilion is complete. You see that on the last line there. Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the pavilion is 100% complete. Total project expenditures, project to date, is $1,700,922.22. The remaining available balance will be $199,077.78. Our estimated project expenditure remaining for completion is $37,664, and our estimated remaining balance once we have taken care of that $37,000 balance will be $161,413.78. So we just want to make sure that we are transparent and show you where we are, how much we have spent, and honestly, that bottom line is really a cost savings because we were able to negotiate with contractors and get lower prices for some of the items that needed to be completed. Okay, next slide. All right, we go to the next slide. This here is just a history. You've all seen this before. We just wanted to show you again the process. We started December of 2022, executing the sales agreement. We've made our first progress payment and so forth, color selection. We received our stamp plans, the subgrade and utilities was done. All our modular buildings were delivered and installed July and August of 2023. And we completed all the modular restrooms with all the utilities, all the concrete, and everything else that needed to be done. The infrastructure was completed in December. Next slide, please. So here's the history on our remodel restrooms, our rehabs. We started in January of 2023. And just to bring you up to date without going through each line there, we are expecting to have all of them completed by the end of this month. All right, and the next portion will be Mr. Horn.
Thank you, Demeter, for the updates.
You're welcome.
I have a question. About a year and a half ago, we talked about signage for the smaller parks. Can you give me an update where we are on the signs for the smaller parks? Big Gill already have a great entry.
Entry signs? We have spent some portion of time reviewing and working on that. We have not gotten it across the finish line. And two, we have not identified an actual funding source to cover the cost, but we have received estimates for signage at the other parks. We do have some cost estimates that are on standby, but we'll definitely be bringing those forward to administration to see if we can get some funding to cover those costs.
As I recall, it was something that the board was interested in funding once we had those details, and now that we're talking about branding, I kind of think we want to consider that before we move forward with actually.
Okay, it's a great idea.
But it was something that we were interested in.
Okay.
And I I want to also comment. I know when we looked at our budget on the council, I also was concerned about the Breezy Hill bathroom, the existing one. I really would like to see if we have anything like contingency or extra to do some remodel instead of just demoing that. Because when we look at where the placement is to the new modular bathroom, I think it makes sense to have bathrooms in different areas and not just have, rely so much on that one. So I know that was a concern of mine, and I was vocal about that. If we have something we could do similar to like Ben Gill with the remodel, I think it'd be helpful because we already have, the infrastructure and things like that.
Yes, Ms. Board Member, we are getting costs for that particular project, and our goal, and I think I committed to this a year ago when it was brought forward, that our goal was to take a portion of our building and maintenance fund, to cover the cost for the remodel of the existing Ben Gill restrooms, because it's only two, and by golly, thanks to the Paddock Board for your major contribution, and I was feeling confident that we could absorb that cost in our current budget without asking for new money from council or the Paddock Board for that particular project. Yes, ma'am.
Said Ben Gill, but I think you meant Breezy.
Breezy, I'm sorry, did I say? I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. President.
So remodeling that bathroom is still in the works.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
The plans is for that to happen.
And I see that there's approximately 161,000 that was originally contingency, but now is remaining. Are you planning on expending that money towards Breezy Hill?
I'll leave it up to the Paddock Board, and if there's some funds that you want to contribute to the Breezy Hill remodel, but one of the things we wanted to bring forward that we discussed in some earlier meetings, there's some additional needs as well at Ben Gill, like irrigation. I know that was a huge conversation, and possibly cameras throughout our parks. That was a huge conversation. So we want to leave all options on the table and let the Paddock Board give us direction.
Like there may be funds in maintenance and operations to do Breezy Hill, so we'll see.
I guess my real question was, where's that extra $160,000 going to go since we didn't expend it?
We'll get to it.
Okay, so it goes back to us.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Any other questions for Lynn before we move on? Cordell?
Thank you, Ms. Comfort. I'll be brief. Most of you know many of these projects. We have the replacement of the wooden bridge at Ben Gill, the repair and resurface of the tennis courts with pickleball striping, and repair of the multipurpose court. You all have approved this to go forward in our last year in July of 2023. We have met with contractors, and we are in progress of getting pricing at this time.
At least 3 contractors, or how many?
Yes, from multiple. Right.
Any questions on these items?
How long do you think it'll take to get the bidding in and pricing so we can move to that next step?
Okay. I'll dive in and throw myself on a sword. So typically, when we're trying to get quotes and proposals, I would like to have at least 3 months to get everything pulled together, because we're getting estimates from multiple different entities, and it really takes a little time. So we're thinking additional 3 months, we should have some numbers back to you. We're pressing every single one of these contractors to get us those numbers as quickly as possible.
It'll be post-Jubilee before anything gets.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we basically gonna use the same material they used at Breezy Hill, or is it altogether different material?
No, we're sticking with the same theme. We felt like everyone loved that option, and we're planning to stick with that same process. So that's why we were hoping that we'd have the numbers back from those guys sooner, but unfortunately, they have not provided those numbers back to us on the cost for the resurfacing of the courts. So we're having to put a little pressure on them, obviously.
It's regarding the courts, when you were talking about if it's gonna be the same, type of substances that we use for, Breezy Hill. Have you heard any feedback on the courts about being slick or anything like that?
Have not. Everyone I've spoken with they've fallen in love. They think it's awesome. The experiences have been awesome. I've been on the court as well with the community and have participated. And to date, we have not learned of any issues.
Somebody reached out to me, and I'll just be contacting that person to see what it's regarding, and I could probably meet them there and see. Somebody did call me about that, but I hadn't been back since, I got the call.
Okay, we love that input. Yes, ma'am.
Anything else from you gentlemen? All right. It's my understanding we do not need to convene into executive session during this meeting. Any other business that we've missed? Questions from staff? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you.
And we're back on track with our 1-hour meetings, I promise y'all. I do promise.
I did, I know.
It took us a long while to get there, and then I felt like we went off course last night.